Hello, this is PG, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Enshrouded. The game is currently in early access on the PC, but it will be coming to consoles later in 2024. Enshrouded is a survival adventure game developed by Keen Games. In Enshrouded, you play as a survivor of a catastrophic event that left a shroud over the land. Okay, gameplay. Well, you start by making your own unique character. The options, I'd say, they're basic at best, and for a game that markets itself as a role-playing game, I would say it was pretty disappointing. Anyway, then your character wakes in a vault. What follows is a series of very basic tasks which will teach you the sort of simple stuff before you can actually start exploring the game world. Now, Enshrouded is a survival game at heart, and by that I mean everything in the game is about resource gathering. Whether you want to craft tools, you want to make weapons, you want to build a home, you will need several resource types to do any of these things. You'll be chopping trees down, you'll be gathering up twigs, hunting wildlife, exploring dangerous caves for loot, and many other things in the first few hours. So it's much like many other survival games, although it does differ in one area. Food and drink is not a necessity to survive in Enshrouded, but it certainly does help you on your way. Much like in Valheim, if you eat and drink quality food at regular intervals, your health and stamina will be plentiful. But if you do the opposite, then you will be ill prepared and most likely die in battle. So crafting can be done on the fly, or if you want to make something decent, you have to go to your base, use a workbench, or you can have visit these craftspeople who you can place at your base, but more on that later. Okay, let's talk about base building. Now, at first, I found it to be a little bit clumsy and convoluted. For example, you can't just get the resources and build a house. No, you've got to take your resources to a workbench, then you've got to take those resources and craft them into certain types of blocks, whether it be wood, stone, whatever. Then, once you've got those blocks, then you can build large or small pieces from walls, doorways, foundations or rooftops. But it's the customization element of this that really impressed me. Now, for example, if you place a wall, you can then select a small block template and you can remove a tiny part of the wall. Remove 2, remove 3, create custom windows, custom doors, custom designs. It's incredibly decorative, it's incredibly intricate, and it's incredibly good if you're a creative gamer. It is a really wonderful idea, and it just gives even the most basic of builders a wide array of options at your disposal. But it's not all good. I would say the amount of resource types in the game is quite frankly ridiculous. Now, why is that bad? Well, when you return from a trip, what you do, you end up spending about 20 minutes trying to sort out all of your resources. Which box do I put them in? Where do I put this? Where is this piece that I need? Where do I put a fucking twig? Okay, so what about combat? Well, the devs say that it is inspired by Souls-like games, but I wouldn't really say that's a comparison that I would use in order to praise the game, because it's very basic. It's attack, block, parry, dodge, roll, done. You know, very much in the ilk of Return to Moria or even Lego Fortnite. It's definitely not an in-depth combat system. Another cool feature is the terrain manipulation. So if you like digging tunnels or you want to recreate things like the Mines of Moria or Hobbiton from the Lord of the Rings, you can definitely do this. So that's a big plus. Now, as I said, the game calls itself a role-playing game, but I'd say it's more like a survival adventure game than a role-playing game. Yes, you have quests, main and side, you've got activities to complete, and it is nice to have some kind of structure in a survival game. And you add to that, there's the craftspeople that you can rescue from the vaults. You know, they join you at your base. Once rescued, they do add some character to it, but they are essentially just crafting stations who speak occasionally and have a pair of legs. That's really it. You have skill trees. This is also quite nice. This is probably the most role-playing aspect of the game. You know, you can go down like the magical route, the barbarian route, bow skills, stealth, whatever you would like to prefer. You've got a customizable loadout with weapons, armor sets, jewelry, charms that can all buff your stats. But finally on gameplay, I think we should talk about the game world itself. So it's made up of different regions, with the main difference being normal land and shroud land. The shroud is this sort of misty region that will poison you over time. Basically, you get a timer. Once it reaches 0, you're dead. It's a way of segregating the game world and making some parts harder to reach, and I'd say functionally it does the job it needs to. You know, you've also got things like caves, catacombs, abandoned old towns, and my personal favourite, the Hollow Halls. The Hollow Halls, they're this multi-level dungeon. There's several of them, very dangerous enemies, puzzles, treasure to find, platforming sections, traps to evade, you know, really interesting. And you've also got these towers that act as like fast travel points if you can get to the top of the tower through sort of unlocking doors, evading traps, as similar to the Hollow Halls in many ways. Now getting around, most of it's on foot, but you do have a glider and you've got a grappling hook. Now these are pretty useful tools for traversal, and I'd say it does make getting around a little bit more pleasant because sometimes it can be a bit of a slog. So, you know, get to a mountaintop and do a bit of gliding, makes your journey a lot easier. But also, I think the terrain manipulation makes travelling around the game world quite interesting, because you might need to get to a place. You can't naturally find a pathway, but you know what? Why don't you just dig through the earth? It may take you 35 minutes, like it did. It took me about an hour and a half to dig to the top of a bloody mountain. But when you hit light at the end of the tunnel, oh my god, that is so satisfying. Right, visually, I'd say it's very reminiscent of sort of old Fable games. The world is very colourful, it's vast, it's quite big. It's bigger than I thought it was, actually. And the buildings look great, the character designs are quite good, user-friendly menus, fonts you can actually read. I know, who knew that was possible, PC players? Well done King Games, for letting us read bloody fonts. Take note, everyone else. But yeah, visually, yeah, like I say, Fable, but I think also Phoenix, right? You know, the game I think did remind me, like I said earlier, it's like a survival adventure game, and adventure game in the sense of a sort of Phoenix Rising type adventure. You know, quite light, quite fun, not that difficult, but yeah, not really in depth enough to call it role playing. But yeah, very visually pleasing, good sound. I really like the music. Very atmospheric, good ambience. You know, the whole soundscape is great. Apart from the voice work, there's not enough. There needs to be more voice interaction, dialogue, because then it might actually feel like a role-playing game. Okay, good and bad points. What's good? The building system is spectacular. The game world is vast, well structured and interesting to navigate. The quest lines add a sense of purpose to the journey. Navigating is cool, as is the terrain manipulation, and the Hollow Halls segment is glorious. Bad points: the combat is far too basic, the resource grind is unbearable at times, the building system could have been more user friendly, and a bit more voice work would have really added some character and charm to the role playing aspect, which I don't really think is fully fledged yet. Okay, verdict: Enshrouded is a game with a huge amount of potential, with its incredible building system, its interesting game world, and its varied quests. Yes, I did find it boring for the first 10 to 15 hours, but once I got to grips with it, I spent about 45 hours on it, and once I had some decent gear and explored the world in a vaster way, I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I think it's immensely playable. It's quite varied, because you might spend one session building your house, you might do an adventure, you might do combat, you might do resource gathering, so there's plenty there to keep you busy. Yes, the combat I'd say needs work. It's quite, Lego Fortnite combat, which, that's not a compliment, but it's okay, it does the job. But the updates have been good. The Hollow Halls update, as I said, I love that. They just added one about a week ago with a new biome. Like there's big trees, there's all this swampy stuff. I think there's a new boss in there. I haven't got to that bit, but yeah, they're adding more, and it's pretty good, I'd say. Like I said, I think it's on the right track to become a bit of a cult classic. You know, it's a hybrid, adventure, survival, wants to be role-playing. I wouldn't class it as that. Adventure survival, I'd say it's definitely something I'd recommend, even though it's still in early access. Okay, so scoring in early access is always difficult, but I'd say Enshrouded feels like about an 8 out of 10 at the moment. I think if they flesh it out, add some more narrative, add a bit more role-playing feel to it, maybe flesh the combat out a touch and add some voice work, I think we could be looking at about a 9, but I'd say 8 out of 10 for now. Okay, that was the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you like, comment, subscribe, or why not even become a member? Because all my reviews are very similar. I'm honest, I give you the detail, and, you know, ask any of my other subscribers, you know, I'm consistent. So yeah, please come on and join the gang. Anyway, this is PG, signing off. Thank you.